again. I haven't even named this thread. I'll name it later. I haven't even put a fancy tag on. I'll do that later from my other much better computer. Let's see here. Put the link in case anybody shows up. Maybe my brother will show up. And I have to say, the Cold Iron's latest memes with Shadow as a vampire have been really good. Really good. If you guys haven't been able to see those, you're actually really missing out. Those are really funny stuff. What is going on? My computer's acting like needs to be put into a special needs class. All right, we got Big Vic. How are you?
Oh, sitting here doing absolutely nothing.
Okay. Why is the weather bad?
So I got in a bit of trouble.
With who?
My players were in a dungeon. Of course, they don't know what they're dealing with. They're just roaming around, and they found a necklace. One of the players found a necklace, and he was the thief. The thief had pocketed it. Another one of the clerics did a whole person spell on him, removed the necklace from him, and another cleric decided, hey, I want to try on that religious artifact. Put it around his neck, and 412 points of damage immediately occurs to the player.
Was it strangling?
No, it was I made up these thing called lightning gems, and what happens is the magic user puts their a lightning bolt in each of the gems, and as soon as the player put on the artifact, the 14 gems decided to go boom.
That is one hell of a sneaky. That's some shady business right there.
Shady? Come on. He wasn't of the religion that the artifact was from.
Hey, I didn't say you were bad or wrong. I just said, damn. Next time they find a necklace with like a bunch of gemstones on it, they'll think really twice about it.
Well, that's the thing, is they didn't do all their homework. You know, when you pick something up, maybe you should put an identify spell on it.
Something.
Maybe, yeah. You know, it's. How about you take some time and do some research instead of just willy-nilly doing whatever you want. You know what I mean? So.
Yeah, I would say that would probably be a good idea. You know, in a world where, you know, necklaces explode and instantly kill you. Maybe do a little research.
Well, it's Dungeons and Dragons, for Christ's sake. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's and it was a relic. You know what I mean?
I feel like the players found out exactly what it was pretty quick.
Yeah, yes, he did.
Were you playing like AD&D?
Yep, AD&D.
Well, I can't say anything because the same thing would happen in Hyperborea too. I mean, if, you know, given the same item, if somebody put it around their neck.
Oh yeah. Well, I mean, I you know, here's the thing though, James. It was underneath a statue of the god, and it was in a double locked safe. So, do you think maybe the priest was trying to hide it for a reason?
There were
keep it safe for a reason, huh?
There were hints. Possibly.
Yeah.
Possibly
there was big hints.
letting people know that maybe you shouldn't mess with this ring.
Yeah, well,
There's
they got
Shadow, the vampire. Shadow can't enter anymore because he asked to
what?
enter, and I said no.
Why did you ban Shadow?
No, it's a joke.
It's a meme that
The
was
new
on this.
meme. Yeah,
Yeah.
Shadow's at my window, all vampired out. He's like, "Let me
Oh.
in," and I'm all like, "Fuck you." And he's talking about Arduin.
Oh God.
He's like a vampire, and he's all like, "Arduin is a much more slimmed down, easy to play version of Hyperborea. Now invite me in," and I'm like, "Fuck you." I've got my Arduin stuff out. There's another one where he's chasing me and my dog to a graveyard, trying to catch us, and he's a vampire. And
Oh.
I'm dressed up like Indiana Jones or some shit, and the dog's even got a little hat and vest. We're running through the grave. Oh man, yeah. This last bunch of memes has been pretty crazy.
Yeah, my favorite was the one where you and your dog was fighting the Japanese girls.
Yeah, the dog and I somehow got involved in a battle with magical Japanese kawaii girls. Like one was pink and the other one was like some kind of purple.
Blue.
Oh. I invent little things to put in my game all the time, and there was a name for these guys. I don't remember what it was, but my players started calling them Hayas because they were little ninjas that were about 4 feet tall with sharp blades, and they'd bounce off the walls and attack. And my players got super annoyed by them because it was like, we can't hit these things, and they're super fast. And I'm just like, huh? It just, stay out of the tomb, could be in Tomb Raiders, and you won't find unique shit like this.
You do bring up a really good question, though, Vic.
What's that?
Why isn't Shadow in here?
Oh,
He's
probably playing with himself or something.
Writing, but it's probably like noon where he is. He could take a break.
Yeah,
this isn't even going to be a long stream, really.
It's a little bit in the afternoon for me.
When I say a long stream, I mean it's not going to be like 5 hours.
Oh, by the way, I have not received your box yet, so I don't know what you sent it. But
receiving that box until I convince my wife to take me to the store and send it.
Okay.
That's how that shit works. I don't drive. I'm not even allowed to drive because of my cortisone bullshit causing me to pass out all the time.
Oh.
Mm-hmm. So I lost my CDL and tanker and all that because they're like, maybe this guy shouldn't be driving anything big.
Well, I can understand that. Yesterday I was at a place, and a driver of questionable origin was next to me. I'm not saying, I don't know where he was from. I'm not gonna say anything, but I pull out. I go to the guard shack. I'm standing there while I'm talking to the security guard. I know him, loosely because I see him once or twice every 2 weeks, and this driver comes driving up, and his landing gear are dragging on the asphalt. And I just look at the security guard. And I just look at him and go, I'm not even going to go there. I'm not going. Just tell the fucking idiot to roll up his landing gear. And I laughed. I wanted no part of that nonsense.
See, the funny thing is, chances are that particular driver is a fellow Minnesotan.
No, he was from Texas. I saw the side of his truck. So
yeah. He might be driving a truck from Texas, but chances are he's a fellow Minnesotan.
Well, I don't know.
mean,
I just, when I see these drivers, James, I just shake my head and I'm just like, oh my God, what in the world is, you know what I mean? So,
the first thought in my head is, did he have a head that looked like a light bulb? Like narrow at the bottom, but then it swells up into a big kind of thing at the top.
no, he did not have that feature.
So he wasn't Somali then.
I would guess no.
Mm.
Using all available data, that my visual data that I had, I would guess no. But it doesn't, you know what I mean?
Oh, he was trying to explain Barrows and Borderlands, not Arduin. And he can't join because he's got a slab leak. And he has to move a bunch of stuff for the plumber. Slab leaks are the worst. They will either run a new pipe and reroute it, or they're going to have to cut up where they think the leak is and fix it and then pour concrete in there. And that sucks.
I just, that's something I'm not looking forward to.
To the edge. If it's close to the edge, sometimes they can actually just dig under and find
That's
it.
something I'm not looking forward to down in Florida, but I've started the process of designing what I want my home to look like, and I want to have a what do you call that? A utility closet slash well, let's just put this, it's just a closet where all my piping comes into and everything else, so that you can just, all right, open the door, walk in there, and you can find exactly what you need in seconds. You know what I mean? Instead of having to fight it, like these major builders do. They just run everything right underneath and say, forget it, here it is,
Well, that's what they call down here. I don't know if it's called the same up there. They call that like builder standard or whatever.
Yeah.
So when you buy a house, if they tell you, oh, it's builder standard, that means you're getting Formica countertops, and typically, you're not going to get the best of anything. You're not getting the worst of everything, but you're definitely not getting the best, And if you build your own house, you have a lot more control over all that sort of thing.
Yeah.
Like at my house, I have a garage and I keep my tools in the garage.
Yeah. Well, I want to build a. Have you ever seen a barnuminium, James?
A barnuminium.
Yeah.
I kind of, just based on what you're calling it, have an idea of what it might be.
All right. Basically, it's one of them. It's a steel structure, and you put a house in it, and part of the house is a garage, and that's what I sort of want to build. I want to build something like a 30 by 50 and take up about half of it as my house and the rest of it as my garage slash gaming. I was going to build a gaming area inside of it, so that when my friends come over, it's like, yeah, come in the garage door. We'll just, come back into the thing. And, we got, outdoor kitchen and everything else, attached sort of to it. So that it's like, all right, we got a separate space, the wife and everybody,
That's kind of funny. One of the houses that we had actually used to have a garage, but it got, at some point, I guess, turned into a giant family room.
There you go. I've seen it done.
Yep. I didn't like that room because what they did for the floor was just put carpet over concrete.
He didn't like that room because he hates his family.
Yeah.
No, it's just that
I
what
want to do mine
to walk around barefoot on like carpet that's over concrete. It's very cold.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's why
that's also in Kentucky too.
Well,
but what I want to do is I want to take.
My wife. Go ahead.
I want to take old pallet wood and run it through a planer, and then use that as the walls of the entire thing, and maybe some tongue and groove pine for the roof so it looks rustic and stuff like that. When you walk in there, it's like, all right, this is nice. I don't have, try to stay away from that goddamn sheetrock down there in Florida. You guys import that Chinese crap down there sometimes.
Not
So,
anymore. We stopped when, people were getting poisoned by it. But we do have an issue down here if you're ever going to buy a house that someone
yeah.
else has lived in. They have to send people in to test like all the walls and stuff to make sure that
Mm.
the house was never a meth lab,
Oh God,
because
yeah.
the chemicals from the meth cook can soak into the gypsum, and then it can really affect little kids horribly.
Oh yeah, and then you got to rip out all the carpet. They have that up here in Minnesota. They rip out every piece of gypsum, rip out all the carpets, and then they test again. And if it's still that way, then they're like, okay, well, we got to seal all this stuff, and they start using like kills and some other, paints that seal all that shit in and stuff. And I'm just like, what a mess.
Second slab leak in a year for you, Shadow. I don't know, man.
Is he
Year,
out? I thought,
year and a half. I mean, you do live in the earthquake state, but yep, see, jackhammer, because they're gonna have to actually bust up the lab or the slab, find the freaking leak, fix the leak, and then put the concrete down to repair the slab, and it's never as good as it was when it was originally poured. It's like, I can tell you this, I had an operation on my shoulder and neck because I really effed them up really bad. And I don't care what anyone says, it never feels right ever again. You know what I mean? I mean, they work. I'm happy I'm not dead and all that, but because I could have very easily died, but it's like I can feel it, and it's the same with doing like patching a wall or something. It's never going to be as strong as it was before you put your fist through it. Or in this case, jackhammered it up. That sucks, Shadow. Here's hoping it works out for you, brother.
Concrete saw and concrete saw it down, and then you compromise the structural integrity because you've gotten cut through the rebar, and then you probably got 2 or 3 feet of gravel and shit you got to clear out of the way and stuff. What a pain in the ass.
Like they do in Florida, they don't put gravel down. They just like have a big ass tamper, and they will tamp the dirt down, and then you have a guy come by and he tests the load bearing weight of the dirt, and if it hits the right thing, then they throw the rebar and the piping in, and then you form up around it, and they just drop the concrete in. And they have this giant machine that has like 3 fan blade looking things that spin, and they just use that to smooth it on out.
Oh yeah, I've seen that before.
Well, I mean, yeah, and as everybody probably here knows, I've worked about every construction job because I decided, as soon as I was old enough to start working, that I was going to start working. So, like Haas was saying the other day about toting concrete blocks, and I mean, I've done just about everything. I probably could, even though I'm 54 and not in great shape. If I had like a air compressor and the air tools and stuff, and somebody dumped a bunch of lumber off, in the middle of the woods, I could build a house. Now it wouldn't be like a beautiful, like this. It would just be a house.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Well, that's when I do my barnuminium. I'm going to have them do the exterior shell and all that stuff, and then I'm just going to go, okay, you're done, you're fired, get the hell out of here. I'm doing the rest. Goodbye. I don't need you anymore.
Well,
And
because you're talking about moving down here, I do have to warn you about some things.
okay, what's that?
There are a lot of building regulations in Florida. A
Well,
lot.
I know. There's the 200-mile-an-hour rule, and that's part of the
Well,
reason
that's
why
for
I'm
your roof.
having.
You got to strap the roof down.
Yeah, that's why I'm having them do the exterior. I'm only going to do interior nonsense. So,
Well, if the exterior is like what they do down here, is cinder block construction is very popular, and
nope.
they fill in every couple cells, and they take
Mm-hmm.
the giant ass metal strap and they stick it about 3 feet down and fill it in, and it leaves like 3 feet up. So when they actually start putting your rafters in, they can just take that big metal thing and wrap it around the rafters and nail it in. And
Mm-hmm.
yeah, your house ain't. I mean, the roof ain't going nowhere after that, you know.
Well, that's why
Uh,
I'm doing the metal.
but
I'm doing the
they
whole.
have a lot of stupid things, you know, like okay, I was a building inspector for a little while, sewer, and they when they're building a house, they'll put this post in the front of your house with a big
Mm-hmm.
white box, and it will literally have like spaces for the 100 guys that have to come and inspect some part of your house. Like my job at that time was to roll up and look at your sewage outlet and make sure it was hooked up to the clean out
Mm-hmm.
and to the main, and there was nothing wrong with it. But I mean, so I am warning you about that. I don't know how it is in Minnesota since it's a blue state. I assume you probably got even worse shit. They probably like make you take a test to make sure you're not racist or something before they let you build a house.
Yeah, you got to
But
have your DEI certificate before you get to do your permits.
yeah,
No,
but
I don't
Florida
know.
has a lot of, and they're always talking about adding more things. Like there for a minute, there was actual conversation about them making it law that every house built after a certain year had to have its own fire suppression unit.
Oh yeah,
So
that's
sprinklers.
just that's the stupid ass goddamn lobbyists up there at fucking Tallahassee and same. They come in there with their grandiose ideas for their lobbyist efforts, you know what I mean? And it's just like, no. That's why I'm going with a steel building. It's totally fireproof on the outside. The 200-mile-an-hour rule is easily achieved, and but the thing is the interior stuff. And yeah, I'm gonna have to look all that nonsense up and make sure. Because up here I had a friend that was a master electrician, and he'd come over to the house every once in a while, and he'd be like, "Oh, okay, I'll just tag that, no problem. You got it all wired right. Just leave I'd leave all the boxes open, and then leave the master panel open, and it'd be like, okay, everything's wired right." He'd tag on it. I'd hand him a case of beer, and we'd be good.
Yeah, I have. Luckily, when my wife and I built our house up in Kentucky, my pops and two of my uncles are master electricians, so that won't be an issue at all. And then one of my first cousins is a excavator. He owns his own backhoe. So, we're so far out in the woods that we don't actually have a sewer system we can hook to. So he'll
Right. So
have
you're
to
gonna
try
go
to. What's
you're gonna
that?
septic then.
Yep.
Yeah, and the only thing about building a house that Kentucky is super hardcore about, and will F you right over if you mess with it, is septic.
Yeah.
I mean, you can pretty much build your house however you want,
Yeah. Pretty much.
and they'll show up and be like, all right, who cares? But if that
Yeah,
septic
that's
tank
true.
is not perfect, you are going to get hammered.
I mean, you should see some of the electrical work that was in some of our houses. Those were some bad electrical work.
Dude, the first house I bought down here, I climbed up in the attic to redo the electricity, and it was two paper wrapped wires running along a channel being held up by ceramic.
I believe it.
Yeah.
So this electricity had been put in like the 20s or 30s. It's like I could tell that the bathroom was like an addition, that the house was not ever designed to actually have indoor toilets. It did though, thank God, because I did spend probably a decade or so with an outhouse, and I made it
Don't wanna
work,
do it
but
again.
it wasn't my favorite.
Well, you know how it is, because when I do electricity, I do it the way I was taught, and I do. And I don't understand this. In Minnesota, it's funny. Let's see, the kitchen stove is hooked up to the fan, is hooked up to the hallway light. What the hell is this? And I hate how they do the electricity up here. I'm more of a room guy. This room is on this circuit. This room is on this circuit. This room is on this circuit. So if it goes out, I can walk out to the box and go, okay, I either got a bad fuse or I got a short somewhere. I'm going to figure this out. I'm going to yank the goddamn fuse and be done with it until I get it all figured out. But, they do some wacky shit up here with their electricity. So,
Well, the older buildings are always like that. You're like turning the freaking fuses on and off and trying to map out which rooms it affects or whatever.
I know.
But newer stuff, they have standards now. So, like in my house, that because it's relatively newer, I can open my junction box and it's neatly listed every single thing. Because again, we have very high building standards. Not like Kentucky, but we're already planning a place up there, and our hope is we find a good piece of area, maybe even on my property, that we can put a house on and build a basement. And then basically how this little room is my little room for all of my crap. The wife wants to eventually build me a basement, and that will be the area for my crap. And I'm cool with it. Because,
you gotta put yourself a little cottage, get yourself a little steel building out there, like 20 by 30, and then you can have your game room and all your crap out there, James. And she could put a little futon out there for you to take naps on, and then she can be like, well, if he comes back.
See, the reason I can't actually do that, Vic, is if I'm not in that building 24/7 guarding it, a bunch of freaking meth heads might wander through and just burn it down for the fun of it or something.
Oh, well, that's why I said steel building, and then you could electrify the doorknobs if you wanted to.
I mean, you know how I'm always saying when I go into the woods, I'm packing a semi-auto rifle and a semi-auto pistol at all times. Yeah. Because as much as I might be worried about haunts and stuff like that, really the people that worry me are the people. And like I've said a million times, if I catch somebody on my property, the first thing out of my mouth, I don't point the weapon at them, but I do keep it in their general direction, right? And the first thing out of my mouth is, who are you and why did you come here? And if I don't like the answer, then we're gonna have a problem. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Well, what's gonna happen, Andre? And by the way, Privyet, Andre, my droog, is the basement's probably going to be a half basement because the house will be built on a slope. So we will dig out into the slope until we get about where we want the house to actually be, right? And that box will be full of we will fill with concrete blocks and everything like that. So the front of the supposed basement will actually be open. Like you could put windows. We will put windows and a door in it so that if my friends come over, they can actually just walk into the basement and not through the house. And then the house will be built on top of that. That's very common in the part of Kentucky where I live, to actually have the house built into the hill,
Yeah, I've seen it around here too.
you know.
You get some hills like that where you can do that.
But like the house itself is above ground,
Yeah.
but the basement will be built in.
It's a split level, basically.
A what?
A split level is what they call them here. Half
Yeah,
the house
well, the
is
main thing
underneath,
is
and
it keeps the house from flooding. And if you build it right, the basement's never going to flood either because, the water would just run right around it.
right, you put in a French drain, and it takes care of it in a heartbeat. You know what I mean? So
Not like our homie Jerry or what's his name, Hambly. That you always see these
Jeremy
guys.
Hambley, the
Yeah, the quartering. These guys up in Wisconsin and Ohio and Michigan always turning pumps on, trying to pump their basement out because that shit fills up with like 3 feet of water. And
you mean with a sump pump?
Yeah, they got a sump pump down there hooked up. Yeah, exactly a partially exposed sublevel. So it won't literally be a dungeon, since I will be able to look out windows and see across the valley. But it will be my wife's storage area. She'll have a whole area for her to just store whatever she wants to store, and then my gaming area. And
So she'll put your coffin over there, or she'll... See, I got you, James. I got you.
No, I was just sitting there thinking that if that becomes necessary, I'll make it myself.
You know what? I see these people spend all this money on these elaborate coffins and stuff, and I'm like, yeah, pine box is good enough. I'm just like, what am I going to do with a body? You know what I mean? I don't need to be, I don't need to be.
It's not like the dead are going to come back if you don't bury them in the right coffin and haunt you and be like, how dare you bury me in a simple coffin? It's like, at least that's my hope. My hope is they got other shit to worry about.
Mm-hmm.
And they don't really care what's going on. Are there going to be shackles on the wall for guests? There might actually be, but it would be just decorative. Like put a bunch of medieval, like maybe instead of hiring a Mexican to do it, like Professor Dungeon Master, I'll just do it myself.
You need the shackles to put your players there if they just misbehave.
Yeah, threaten them with it. But what I was thinking is they have that rough stone, but it's not really rough. It's like foam concrete. You know what I mean? So it's really, really light. It's basically made out of concrete, but it's all foamed up, And when you glue it to the wall with like liquid nails, and when you're done gluing it to the wall, you can, if you want, hey baby boy, how you doing? Oh, just letting everybody know you're around, huh? You can run some freaking grout in all the gaps and then just paint it, like stone colored, and make the whole wall look like it's actually like rough carved stone, like sometimes you might imagine a dungeon would be. But I don't care if the floor is concrete or not, because the second use of that room will be a mud room. So when I'm up on the hill collecting shit tons of that sticky red mud, that if it's not Kentucky is made up of 2 substances, not counting water, and that is big ass rocks and sticky red mud. At least my part of Kentucky, right?
We have a lot of clay here.
Red mud, it will literally stick to your boots until it builds up like 2 layers of mud on your boot. At which point, if you're up on a mountain, you got to find a good rock or a tree or something and kick the shit out of the tree to get the mud off your boot,
Where I'm
And if,
from, we got a lot of clay.
yeah,
Why that
that's
clay
what I'm
split.
talking about. That red clay mud shit.
Yeah.
And if you walk into the house with that stuff on your boots and you get it in like onto anything that's, porous or cloth like, you'll never get it out. It's just in there, right? So, put down one of those polypropylene mats so that when I come in from outside covered in that clay, I can knock the boots off and then take them off on that mat.
The girlfriend wants me to put in, if we build a house, she wants me to put in a mudroom with basically, it's sort of, you step into it and jets of water go in there and just wash it all off your boots, and it just goes down the drain and out of the way. So I'm like, how would
It's
I do
interesting that
that?
there's no mud down here.
No, I don't know. It's what she wants, so I'm just like, okay,
Yeah, I don't know. When you talk to her, we have sand and the sand gets wet, but it doesn't stick to you. You might get mud on you, but you can like kick against a rock or a fence post and it falls right off because it's just sand, Kentucky is all that red clay. And when that shit gets on you, it intends to stay there, As a matter of fact, I've had jeans in the past that I slipped or something on the mountainside and, slid down a bit and got all that mud ground into that denim. And no matter how much they were washed, they always had that kind of orangey red stain on them. And that's just, yeah, that stuff likes to stay. But I mean, I love it. Can't wait. That's what I'm saying. I don't want my wife to get laid off, but if she does, packing this shit up and gone.
Yeah, talking about that, James. Finally, it's nice and warm here. A nice, good 70 degrees.
Well, that's Kentucky. Somebody was asking me about Kentucky the other day, and I said, you can get every season in Kentucky within a week.
Within a day.
Almost, yeah. From like one Friday to the next Friday, you can get spring, autumn, winter, summer, like just all of it. Because Kentucky is schizophrenic when it comes to weather. It just really does.
I'm pretty sure I've seen it. Be like freezing cold in the morning, then like summer, and then it goes back to fall in the afternoon.
Yeah, I'm not disagreeing with you. You'll wake up and it'll be below freezing and then snow on the ground. And by noon, it's freaking 65, 70 degrees and the snow's melting. And now you got all that red clay mud.
Oh, yeah.
And then it gets a little warmer and then night hits and that clay mud freezes up into ice that's specifically designed to just bust your ass on. And then maybe it'll snow on top of the ice, and that's extra fun because now you're in the snow, but it's also ice.
Yeah,
and then it'll thaw out again.
Most of last week was just ice, pretty much, almost all ice. It was fun.
When my hillside, from my mountain, when all the snow melts off of that, the whole hillside turns into just like
ice,
creeks everywhere.
Yeah.
As that water, that snow melts in the water. And there's a couple of places where there's year-round creeks running down and there's waterfalls and stuff. It's really nice. I'd get tested before I drank it, but still.
You don't drink the creeks, no.
When I was a kid, I used to all the time. But that was before a bunch of idiots decided to run their sewer pipes directly into underground caves.
Oh, yeah.
And then idiots drank the water and got hepatitis B. And that's no fun.
Oh, great.
Yep.
Which is why now we're looping back to the beginning of my story, Vic. Which is why the state of Kentucky is so fucked up about making sure your sewer system's right.
Mm-hmm.
Because
it's a good thing to do it too, because my God, It's bad whenever you have a bad septic tank,
I'll
or
tell you what,
multiple houses on one.
let them catch you running your sewer outlet into a fucking cave. You'll be effed in the A
Yeah,
for real. I
yeah.
mean, you could look at jail time for that shit. They do not take that shit lightly at all.
I kind of don't blame them. I mean, I don't want it to happen.
No one wants that to happen. It's just these lazy hillbillies that don't give a shit about anything. All they care about is, well, as long as the poop goes away from me, I don't care.
Yeah.
And so they do this stupid shit, and the next thing you know, a bunch of little kids got hepatitis.
I've been looking at Florida regulations. Like you could, if you drop a 3-inch pipe in the ground for water, you need a permit. If you drive 2-inch pipe down into the ground for water, you don't need a permit. So I was like, okay, these are neat regulations, and I'm looking at all this stuff, and I'm just like, okay, how do I, do this and this and this without pissing off the fire marshals and shit like that? So.
The standard down here for any pipe that holds sewage in residential is 4-inch.
Yeah, this is just
4-inch PVC. That's just, there's a little leeway with the water going to the house, the potable water. You can use copper. You can use polyethylene tubing, that blue stuff. You can use PVC if you want. And generally, that's going to be like 1 inch. It's going to be 1 inch coming off the main in the house, 4 inches coming out of the house to the clean out, and then 4 inches to the main.
Right.
So I mean, I may have made it sound way more whatever than it actually is,
Well, no, I was talking about a well. I was talking about if you're going to run a well in Florida, 2 inches permitted without a permit, and a 3-inch you need a permit from the county or something like that. So I was like, well, how much water does a guy like me need? You know what I mean? How much possible water could I possibly use in a day?
Let me kind of put the kibosh on that thought right away.
Why?
The aquifer in Florida has been super low for like 25 years.
Mm-hmm.
So if you actually want a well, you better hire somebody to put that bitch deep. Because
that was the idea.
It depends where you live too. But yeah, the days of putting a 20-foot well in and being like, oh, I've got water. No. That shit's going to be 80, 100 foot. And now what they've been doing is they've got these giant 30-inch pipes that lead down to the aquifer. And when they treat the sewage and the water's treated, they pump it under pressure into the aquifer.
Oh.
And then, by the time it travels through all of that porous stone down there, it's cleaner than what you would normally even get from an aquifer. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. So they're trying to create a loop system, but the water, like the plant that pulls the water up and treats it and sends it out for potable water, they're pumping with these gigantic pipes right out of the aquifer, like 200 feet down.
Yeah, and then I know a guy who works over at the city of Orlando, and he tells me that they pump it out into these lakes, and these lakes are filled with reeds and stuff like that. And I'm just like, oh, wonderful. And he says, oh, God, you wouldn't believe all the nonsense we got to go through with that stuff. So I was like, okay, well, you got to do what you got to do,
Well, I mean, there is this whole thing, like the state of Florida was built to be as effective as possible of a anti-flood zone. So like anywhere you go in Florida, you're going to see retention ponds all over the place, connected to canals connected to even bigger canals that lead into rivers, that lead into lakes. And all throughout the year, whichever department it is that runs all that shit is constantly opening and closing locks, So, like, you can go, let's say a place I used to love to go fishing, Alligator Lake, right? You
Yeah.
could go there during one part of the year and it would be way up. You know what I mean? And then you
Yep.
go there during another part of the year and the water is like super low. And it's just the way they open locks up all over because they're constantly shuffling the water around through like hundreds of lakes and retention ponds and stuff. I mean,
Yeah.
that's some math shit that I don't know how that shit 100% works.
Well, I bet you they got monitors on all that crap. They're checking the settlements. They're settling whatever chemicals and solids are settling out of the water, and they got to maintain it by EPA standards. And I can't imagine the nonsense that they got to go through. So
Well, the yeah, when the water comes out of wherever it drains out of, its first stop is going to be to a retention pond, and usually after a while in the retention pond, it turns almost drinkable. It gets clear, you know, because of, like you said, all of the plant life and everything. It's a whole environment there, right? And then from the retention pond, it'll be moved down canals to other lakes to wherever the hell it goes. I mean, like I said, see, Kentucky, it's like this: water rushes down a mountain and it goes to a river. It's really that simple. Snow's on the mountains, snow freaking thaws, water goes into the lake, and then you're like, well, okay then. Florida, they had to design this giant machine that's the whole state in order to make this place habitable. Because at the end of the day, the whole state was a swamp, except maybe Ocala, where the hills are. And the swamp wants to come back really bad. So it is a constant battle between, whoever takes care of all that shit and nature wanting to come back, A pillory in the yard. That's what I'm talking. That would be a neat, like, decoration. People walk up and there's an actual pillory out in the front yard. But it would all be in fun. I wouldn't actually put anybody in a pillory.
Bullshit, James. You got somebody breaking in
that I would think about putting in a pillory, but
you would do it. So you got somebody in your game room busting up shit. You caught him. You'd walk him right out there and call the sheriff or go, here you go, get in that son of a bitch, and you'd call the sheriff up and say, come get him.
Nah, because where I live, which is an unincorporated part of Kentucky, the one thing that no one in that region ever does is call the sheriff. As a matter of fact, we don't even like to see him. He don't like us either. He don't come across the railroad tracks. There is no patrolling in that town. Basically, you can't even call it a town, since really it's just like 10 trailers kind of scattered around a couple hundred acres of land on a hillside. So, and everybody knows everybody. So
I was watching
back in
that
the
sheriff.
60s, we had a bad sheriff that used to be very corrupt, and his deputy was his son. And someone in the area I'm talking about, Tateville, called the sheriff and said that there was someone fighting or beating their wife or something. And when he and his son showed up, they shot him like dozens of times, and his son. And then this old man from the Decker clan, he said he did it, and they put him in the bullpen, which is Kentucky's state, penitentiary.
Prison.
And it didn't matter because he was like had terminal cancer anyway. But I'll tell you what, it wasn't him that did it. And I'm not going to name names, but I kind of know who did it. But it was this sheriff like to catch people drinking and beat them, like just beat the shit out of them. And one day he caught the wrong guy drinking, beat the shit out of him, and it turned into some people took that shit personal. You know what I mean?
Oh yeah.
And so yeah, I mean, hell, it wasn't that long ago when a guy was running for sheriff in our county, and he got shot sniper style. And when they did the investigation, it was the guy who was running against him to be sheriff.
Jesus.
Had
Sounds
took him
like that.
out at
Sounds
like
like sort of like the sheriff that was up there in Kentucky that went in and shot a judge. That was like
yeah, I
last
mean,
year.
some people can be very passionate. That's why I keep telling you, if I catch somebody on my property, especially if they're armed, I'm inviting them to leave and telling them to never come back. I don't care who you are. If I'm up there trying to catch a boar or a pig or something or a deer, ain't nobody supposed to be there but people I invited, and I've only ever invited my family. So if I see one of my cousins up there sniping deer, I'd just be like, hey, why don't you slide me one of those back straps, bro? And he'd be like, okay, because he's hunting on my land for free. So I feel like if I want to hit him up for a little back strap,
Yeah.
come
It's
on.
called the deer
Oh,
tax.
yeah.
You gotta do it.
Yep, it's
And I
the
only take
tax,
the
man.
one. I let them keep the other. I'm not greedy. And pretty much we all just look out for each other,
Well, your family should,
Yep. My wife was laughing because the first time I took her up there, no one smiled out at us when we were driving down the road towards my mom's house. Everyone was like kind of giving us the stink eye. And then I got to my mom's cousin Sandy's house, and I got out, and she recognized me. She's like, "Is that you?" And I'm like, "Yeah." She's like, "I haven't seen you in like 20 years." And I'm like, "Well, I'm here, and this is my wife." And the hillbilly communication system kicked in. And from then on, anywhere my wife and I drove, everybody was waving, you know. They're like, "How you doing?" "Oh, doing pretty good. How you?" Because once they found out I was one of the descendants of the original people from that place, then all of a sudden we're all friends. You know what I mean?
It's almost like your family.
Yeah. Yeah, probably. I'll tell you what, everyone that Sandy or my mom introduced me to, it came with a name, who they're related to, and how related we are. So
Yeah.
let's say I went down to their little church and she introduced me to this little redheaded girl, like at 20 years old, right? She would say, "Oh, this is Becky Woodall," or I'm making the names up. "This is Becky Woodall. She's related to the Stevenses and the Coxes, and I believe she's your third cousin." And I'd be like, "Well, nice to meet you, Becky." And it was that way with every single person.
Yep.
Because, you know, we don't want to create a bunch of blue people. You know what I'm saying? Like in Harlan County with all those blue people running around. Yeah, we don't need any of that. So we keep track of how related you are to everybody, so you know who not to be getting overly frisky with.
Yeah, and then you got the problem of who's cheating with who and blah blah blah.
I'll tell you
I
what,
don't know.
it happens there, but boy, you better keep it secret. Because some of those good old boys, if like you sleep with their wife, it means one of you has to go. Like, no doubt at all. It's not even a thought. We're not talking about maybe we can make up and whatever. No, somebody's going to die because when my uncle Curtis slept with my uncle Morris's wife, he went out in the woods and tried to kill himself, but unfortunately, the shotgun kicked when he pulled the trigger, and instead it just blew his whole face off.
Oh, Jesus.
And then he had to go through like a year of surgery to try and build a face. But let me tell you, don't look good. You know what I'm saying? But yeah, the shotgun, it's basically like if you took a big ice cream scoop and you put it underneath somebody's chin and just went up. It's amazing he didn't like blind himself, but he didn't blind himself. He just scooped a lot of his face off. And I know that I should probably have some pity for somebody, but I don't. I have no pity for anybody involved, even though they're close skin. That's my paternal grandfather's kids, right? But like, no, I have no pity at all. I don't know. You guys out there in the audience, would you have pity? Like a brother sleeping with his own brother's whore ass wife? I have no pity. Get what you get. And then to make it even worse, the husband of this whore ass wife, Capper, I'd have been booting her ass right out, right down the hillside.
Yeah, I think I would be too.
I mean, yeah, because it's like
It's just not right.
you just can't forgive that, you know? And I'm a very forgiving guy, generally speaking.
Well, I usually am too, but man, I would not forgive my brother if he did that to me. He should have told me that my wife was like that.
Exactly.
Get with him.
Yeah, it's my oldest uncle and my youngest uncle. It's fucking embarrassing, is what it is. And they should both be ashamed. And if my granny were alive, she would have beat the shit out of both of them, regardless of them being grown ass men. She would not have tolerated that shit. But I'll never forget one bit of wisdom my grandma told me when I was incredibly young. She said that she took her kids to church every Sunday. She prayed as hard as she could, and she did her best to raise them right. And somehow she raised a house full of liars and whores. And she'll never understand what she did wrong. And of course, my like 9-year-old ass was just sitting there like, I'll be extra good. You know what I mean? And of course, you know, I could do no wrong anyway because I was the first, not only the first grandchild, but a boy. And I know a lot of people might think, well, that's sexist. Yep, it is. Sorry about any hard feelings people might have, but, you know, back then people wanted boys. And I was the first grandchild, the male child, blah, blah, blah. And it basically meant I could literally I could do no wrong. I could basically just get away with anything. And, you know, my grandparents would be totally awesome with it. Not that I was a bad kid. I never was, but I could have been. Yeah. I definitely could have been.
So, James.
So, Timmy, tell me about your game. I know you want to.
Yeah, I was going to say, yesterday's game was pretty interesting. We got to go through some more of that dungeon that we've been going through.
And I'm assuming you didn't die.
No, nobody died, although everybody's injured. Yeah, it's like this is the first time, and I think in this group that everybody's been at least hurt in the dungeon. Usually, it's either somebody getting really hurt and nearly dying, or being fully healthy.
Yeah. Let me tell you something, Timothy.
What?
The adventure I've been running, I've literally ran 3 times. And of course, I changed stuff up so the players don't even know that I've changed it. But it's the same adventure. The Goodman Games, Curse of the Beastmen or whatever. And this group has ran through this adventure so fast. You know what I mean? Like compared to the other times I ran it where people died and, you know, is a big whatever. And like, I'm literally sitting here running the game and I'm running it straight, rolling in front of everybody, throwing monsters at them, doing everything. And they are just freaking smoking through shit. You know what I mean? And I was just sitting there like, okay, damn, you
If
know,
they've been through it before, they know what to expect, I guess.
they don't though.
Huh.
A lot of the players at the table this time have never even seen it.
No.
And I'm pretty sure my wife doesn't remember it. Because
Maybe they just became more experienced players. I mean, sometimes you find ways to get through certain situations better when you play it enough.
And they did. And, you know, so.
I mean, you should see how my cousin was whenever he first started playing. It was a weird thing.
I can tell you this, as a DM, I'm very like proud of them, you know?
I mean, I remember when it was like with my first when my cousin first played.
Yeah.
He nearly died to a friendly NPC. And then, and after that, I don't know what happened, but he started actually becoming like the weirdest. He plays in the weirdest ways, but it works for him to the point where he'll get through some of the craziest situations.
I don't know, Leth. I seem to remember you telling me stories about your cousin when we were playing Conan. And none of the stories were good. I think that I determined that he was evil. Maybe even in real life.
I don't think he's evil in real life.
So.
But I'm just saying, Dave.
Some of the shit he was doing that you were telling me he was doing, I was just like, wait, what?
Wait, what?
What is going on? My group, I can't say. So anyway, there was this cursed witch, right? And the players went to her asking if that she would help them with,
talked about that one before, yeah,
potions and scrolls. And she was like, yes, but there's a condition, right? Have I told you this yet?
Yeah, you talked about it. She had to marry someone to get
someone had to marry her. So of course the whole party tries to get Hungar's cleric to marry her, but she's a withered up, maybe with 3 teeth, walnut of a thing. She looks 100, and Haas's cleric already is like super racist against everything that's not a Hyperborean. Like most of the time, he keeps it to himself, but sometimes he straight up just calls them subhumans. And for some reason, they put up with it. Maybe because he's the only healer in the group. So they're like, yeah, he's a
does
dick,
give him a little bit of a leeway.
Yeah, they're like, yeah, he's a complete and total dick, but I mean, we kind of need him, right? So
let's look how Spoonie
talked about round and round, and finally, because they really want the help and everything, the potions and possibly scrolls, and the wizard, like, he leveled up, but in my game, if you want spells, you have to actually find a teacher or scrolls. And you don't just get spells automatically, right?
You gotta learn them.
Yeah. So he's thinking, fine, I'm going to marry this bitch, and then she'll teach me spells. And she agrees, yes, if you marry me and everything, then I will teach you any spells that I know that you can learn, right? So he marries her, and he puts the ring on her, and she immediately turns into this like 7 foot tall beautiful, dark red-haired Hyperborean woman, which means the Hyperborean in the group is like, "What the fuck?" You know?
It's like, what the fuck?
And he's like, "Why didn't you tell me?" And she's like, "The
I
curse
couldn't.
didn't allow me to."
Yeah.
You know? And then the Atlantean's like, "Yes." But then she turns to him and says, "Look here, monkey." You know, and starts talking shit. She's like, "I'm your wife and I will keep all my oaths and be your wife. But there are some rules." And she laid them out. She's like, "Your friends are not allowed to ask me for anything. I am your wife, not theirs." And yeah, she said some other stuff too, but basically it was just her letting him know that yes, there's an NPC that you can contact and ask if she will make potions for you. But no, don't treat this as a you know, don't think you're taking advantage of anything, because she's married to him and she will 100% keep her oaths, the marriage oaths that they exchanged and everything, because she does. I mean, Hyperboreans can have honor. She does have honor, right? But
She'll honor the agreements, but she doesn't like them. She's just there
really is not a huge fan of him, even though she treats him with honor like he's her husband and stuff. But I mean, he's an Atlantean and they're already like kind of in a weird spot, since they have gill slits on their neck and can't reproduce with other humans except for Atlanteans. So of course, Hungar Haas, being the person he is, he like pulls me aside and starts asking me, you know, what would happen if he murdered the Atlantean? And I'm all like, what? And he's thinking, well, if I murder him, then maybe I can get her to marry me. And I'm just like, wow.
already planning betrayal just for a marriage.
Well, not the week before he tried to. They were all whining about, we need to leave here and go back to town and heal up. And the cleric's like, what? We've got bandages. I've got healing magic. We could stay and keep going through the dungeon. And most of them are like, no, we should probably go home. So the Hyperborean cleric leans over to the berserker in the group and whispers to her like, hey, these people are useless. Maybe you and I should just stay here and clear this dungeon by ourselves, right? And she didn't say anything, even though she did agree that they were mostly useless, though. So, yeah, so that's how my games go, guys. The players, and that's not usually like this.
Yeah.
It's Hyperborea. Just everything about Hyperborea makes shit weird. Because, I mean, you've got an assassin in the group that worships Mordizian or whatever, who is the god of murder and blood. So once a month, she sneaks away from the rest of the party to go to the underground temple of Mordizian and take part in the ritual sacrifice and the blood orgy or whatever the hell they do. I haven't gotten to detail with all of it, but it's not good. And then again, Hungar's character just worships a fat, lazy bat toad thing. So, and the Crowmancer worships a god that is supposedly responsible for the whole world freezing over in an ice age. And supposedly he that being will make it happen again at some point.
Well, James, I mean, we had to fight some Sturges.
I hate Sturges.
They're
I
kind
mean,
of
as a DM, I love Sturges. Sorry.
They don't seem
As
that bad.
a player, though, it's like, oh my god, these fuckers.
I like that I flew up against the Surges, and whenever the DM rolled to see how many would attack me, it was just one.
Well, that is just pure you lucked out, because
I know. DM's like, don't get mad at me. And then he goes, rolls 1. I was like, well, never mind, I guess.
I mean, the thing about the Sturges that makes them just the worst
They
is they
attach it to
only
you.
got to hit you one time.
Yeah, they only have to make 1 hit. But that's
And
the good
then
thing about
after
my
they've
character.
got that one hit on you, they're just going to sit there and drain all your blood.
And you have the ability to accidentally hit your friends when you're trying to kill them.
Right. If they try to help you, they might smack you.
Luckily, we didn't have that problem. We did have a little bit of bad luck when it first came to hitting them because my rolls have been trash.
I'll tell you what, the young lady, and you've heard her voice when she comes in, she always like, hi, because she's super cheerful all the damn time. She was talking about how the last game we played Saturday, she hit nothing.
Oof.
The whole game, she hit nothing. And then when she was looking for secret doors and stuff, which her character being a thief type has a really good chance of doing, she found nothing. And when they got ambushed, her character being a thief class is pretty good at detecting ambushes. She detected nothing. Like every roll she made for the whole game, she failed.
That is sad.
And it was a whole damn game like that. And she's just like, so she started putting dice into gel and stuff like that. Meanwhile, the mage who isn't usually the hero, he got off the ice bolt attack on one of the main bad guys, and literally blew him into pieces. It was crazy. I mean,
I did turn around my luck a little bit at the end because, well, got to kill a couple of Sturges. I got to kill one while it was on somebody without hurting the person. So
you know what?
that.
The other monster that's really, really terrible, but you put in a dungeon if you just want to be a dick.
What's that?
Rotworms.
Rotworms. Oh, we had to deal with those too because a couple of undead had those in them.
And if they get on you, they start burrowing into your skin,
skin.
and then after an amount of time, they reach your heart.
Yeah, we
And
luckily
the
just
only way to kill them is to apply really high heat over them as they're digging through you to cook them inside of you. And of course, when you put a welding brand on yourself, you're not going to enjoy that shit either.
Let me ask you something. Would flame shield work for that?
I don't know. I'd have to read the spell. I think really, in my opinion, as far as I know, the only thing that's going to help you there is if you just have a very high fire resistance.
Because there are certain spells that do put flame on you without technically burning you, and I'm wondering if that would be like a
two different sources of heat. So the flame shield is not going to burn you, but putting that red hot freaking torch on your arm to try to cook that freaking worm, that will burn you. You are getting burned. So
but usually that would also help with it though, because I think in flame shield it does give you not resistance, but it gives you a better chance of not getting hurt by.
Well, I'd have to look up flame shield to have this debate, like for real. But I can tell you, in my experience, really the thing you would need is something like a ring or something that would give you immunity or a big damage resistance to flame.
Yeah, I was just wondering if
that
flame
would work,
shield would work though, because since it does put flame on you, would that get rid of the rope?
The flame that the shield puts on you, fuck that. Don't even think about that. That's a totally different thing, and it is meaningless to this conversation, right?
Okay, fair.
You need, like I said, something that literally gives you flame resistance, fire resistance, anything like that. Whether it makes you immune or just absorbs some damage, that's what you need. Now, there are spells, if you got somebody in the group that has them, like protection from fire. If somebody were to cast a protection from fire on you, and then you ran that screaming hot torch on top of the worm, you would be protected, but the worm would not. And therefore you would cook its ass inside of you
Okay.
without, a lot of damage or anything. But yeah, it's just going to work the way it works. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Then there was the hook horrors that we had to fight, which we did destroy pretty easily.
Hooked horrors, man.
Yep.
Have you ever read Zach Sabbath's like write up of hooked horrors?
Nope. I probably should though. It sounds like it'd be pretty interesting.
Absolutely horrid. In his world, there's
That's
like
what
this
it's called.
cult or something like that, religion, cult, whatever. And they make hooked horrors by taking a human and casting spells on them to like make them bigger and whatever. And then they cut their arms off just above the wrist, and they drill like screw these gigantic rusty metal meat hooks in. And of course, all this pain and everything drives the person that they're doing this to absolutely freaking insane, right? And after they, do all the things they're going to do to him, they just dump him off in a dungeon, in a forest, wherever they happen to be. And they just let nature take its course from there,
Yeah.
So while it's not a weird, hooked armed owlbear thing, it's even more kind of personal, because it's like, this thing, what it reminds me of, honestly? Have you ever seen Beastmaster?
I've
Movie?
seen I've seen a few clips on it, somebody reviewing it, but I never really watched it.
Well, in the movie Beastmaster, they have these like crazed berserkers that they keep under the temple, and they're designed to kill anything. Like literally, they will kill anything that they can kill. And the idea is if somebody tries to attack the temple, they just let these bastards out, right? And the way that they're made is kind of very similar to Zach Sabbath's hooked horror. Like they pour some acid in their ear and it eats up part of their brain, and then they cover them in this like spiked armor so that their whole body is just nothing but hardened leather with still spikes sticking out of it. And then they put like big gloves on them that are all like nothing but spikes and blades everywhere. And in the final part is they put the helmet on them and it's locked on, right? And then if they need to let them loose on somebody, they can let them loose on somebody, right? And that's pretty crazy. So Hungar's at the doctor's. I don't know what for, but that just crossed my mind, and
Hopefully he's okay.
And so you kind of explained, and I know I keep cutting you off here and there, the game, but like, did anything else happen?
Well, we killed the Hulk doors pretty easily. Well, our mage mostly did. He took out like this wand of like I forgot what it's called, like Cone of Cold.
Ooh, good spell.
Yeah, he took all three of them in one shot. After, well, I think a couple of them got wounded a little bit first, but he finished them all off.
Yeah, good cone of cold, man. That's like
Yep.
a shit ton of damage to everything in front of you.
Yep. Luckily,
Yeah,
since
no
the thing
joke.
that he fired it from, the person he fired it behind from was a dwarf, so since it was a dwarf, the DM just allowed it to pass over him without hitting him.
Well, who knew Bubba was such a good DM like that? Because I would have said, nah,
Yeah, it still hits him anyway.
it's going to hit him.
He does it because it's
the
like a
second
ranged
it
rule.
comes out of the wand, it forms the cone. Up,
That's
down,
fair.
left, right.
That's fair, but he sees it as like a ranged attack in which a range you can do. He allows performing like bow attacks above like ally, like short allies without hitting them.
Well, I would allow that. Yeah.
Eh,
I would allow the bow attack above the short allies. But the cone of cold, that's
I can see where you're coming from, but that's how Bubba plays it. So
well, Bubba's the DM of Bubba's game, which means Bubba can play it any way he
he
wants,
wants it.
and he is right every single time. And while I will say I do it this way, you notice I did not say he did it wrong,
Nope, you didn't.
because in his game, he is always right. Um, I had some issues personally with Kona Cold, though.
Really?
Well, we had this asshole who used to game with us a lot, and he always played a wizard, and he always said he was chaotic neutral when he was in fact chaotic evil. And
I'm guessing this was the guy that you talked about before, who Hungar character killed
oh,
because he kept
Hungar
on.
killed the shit out of him.
Yep.
We went and cried out on the front porch, but he was a European pussy, though. He'd been born and raised most of his life in like Czechoslovakia under communism. So he is a pussy. He didn't know anything about anything. And you could never man that guy up. No matter how hard I tried to like put a little grit in him, it wouldn't work. Also, to this day, I think he's still a communist. He never gave up on communism, even though his parents, who loved me to death, they absolutely were like, fuck communism, But they had also been part of the rebellion to try and get rid of communism that failed in Czechoslovakia, right?
Yep.
But anyway, that's a side thing. You know how I said the game I ran back then, it went for a long, long time?
Yeah.
Well, it did. And eventually they all managed to get of a level where he could cast Cone of Cold like twice a day, right? And my friend Marcus, the one I talk about quite a bit, he was playing his Cavalier. And I shit you not, this shitbird, every time he cast Cone of Cold, he positioned it where it would clip Marcus. Well, actually, his character's name was Thyric Ben Philona. So Thyric was his name. Ben Philona. I don't know why he had a Jewish nomenclature in his name. He was not Jewish. And usually when somebody has Ben in the middle of the name, that's a Jewish thing. So like my name would have been like Herschel Ben Moishel. And that would just let everybody know that I was the son of Mark Moisha. But anyway, that's neither here nor there. And every time he did it, Marcus would tell him, look, you need to be careful with that thing. You're hitting me for like 6 dice 6 damage. And I mean, his Cavalier had quite a few hit points, but not that damn many, right? And did he stop? Of course he didn't stop. He kept right on, making sure that Marcus's Cavalier was clipped into the Cone of Cold every time. And on about the fourth time this happened, Marcus just turned around with Sword of Sharpness and took his head off. Like he rolled the 20. And it was like, well, I'm sorry, you're automatically dead now. And so he went and moped, and then he made a new character that was exactly the same as the last character. And then they found him in a dungeon and decided to let him join them. And in that one, he started behaving towards the Cavalier, but they got to the end of the thing. They were fighting like these dragon worshiping mages. And Hungar was playing a battle rager. because I allowed him to bring that one book into our 1E campaign. Because Haas really, really wanted to play a Battle Ranger.
I don't blame him. It sounds like it'd be a fun one.
Yeah, and I was like, fine, play the Battle Ranger. And so he raged out during this fight because there were monsters and demons and the mage involved, and all kinds of shit was going
all
down.
Doomslayer on these things.
Right. So he goes full on, dwarf berserker. And after he killed the mage, he had to make his willpower save to see what he would do, right? And it ended up, he decided he would just continue attacking the last target until the rage ran out, which meant he started using his two-handed axe to completely disintegrate that mage. And that pissed the mage in the party off because he's like, guys, he's going to destroy all of the scrolls and all of the potions, which is true. 100% was true. He did absolutely destroy every one of the potions.
Yeah, but I mean, I wouldn't want to get in between a Battle Ranger and those potions. No, thanks.
Right. So
Acceptable
this
losses.
idiot decides he's going to try to distract him by casting magic missile at the dwarf Battle Ranger while he's in a rage. And I'm like, are you sure you want to do that? And he's like, yeah. I'm like, are you sure? He's like, yeah, I'm sure. I'm like, all right. And he rolls the damage because, his magic missile shot like 5 magic missiles. At which point, the Battle Ranger fucking beelines directly at him and just hacks him in little bits. And then he goes out on the porch and mopes and cries. And then he makes another character. And, I could keep going on. And he was a weird dude because that was Haas's friend. Him and Haas hung out and did all the stupid shit that they did a lot of the time. But Marcus and I never liked him. You know what I mean? Because when me and Marcus would talk about him, we'd be like, that's a shady fucker. I wouldn't trust him with anything, right? But Haas back then was a lot more good-natured. So for whatever reason, he overlooked the shadiness of this guy.
The weaseliness.
Yeah, he was a fucking weasel. And even back then, when I was in my early teens, you guys can you can hear me now and believe me later. I hated communists when I was 12. You know what I mean? I mean, especially after hearing what they had done to my stepdad's whole family. There was no way I was going to be like, yeah, communism's great. They only murdered half of my family and drove them off of their, ancestral lands and forced them to flee or die. No, I wasn't buying into any of that shit. So the fact that he kept being like, I think communism's okay, boy. I never whipped his ass. But my buddy Brandon from Wisconsin, he's from Wisconsin. Boy, he laid an ass whipping on that dude one day. It was so bad, I had to step in and be like, Brandon, really, dude, calm down.
Calm down. You're going to kill him. Come on.
I killed this guy. And Brandon was one of those dudes that could have played a dwarf, like in a movie. You know what I mean? Like, he was short and stocky. And when I say stocky, I mean just fucking broad. And like my brother, he was growing a beard by the time we were in like the 3rd grade. And he really, really hated the dude we're talking about. Fucking hated him so bad. And I don't even know why. Nobody ever told me what was up with that hatred, but it was a strong hatred, And what's weird is we all hung around together like every day. you know. And then, oh yeah, Brandon loved to fight. Like every day on the way home, he'd end up picking a fight with somebody. And then we'd be like, come on, guys. And then somebody'd end up thrown in the canal on the side of the road, and we'd all laugh. I mean, he's a weird guy, you know. I think he ended up playing football for the University of Wisconsin or something. You know, he was cool because he'd always sneak over liquor that he stole out of his dad's liquor cabinet. And then when he got caught, he'd get his ass whipped. But he would take that ass whipping. You know what I mean? Knowing for a fact he was going to take an ass whipping, he would still steal the liquor and bring it to the party. So I would say a good dude, a solid guy. I never had any problems with him. He was a good guy.
Fair, but he probably shouldn't have been stealing from his dad.
Yeah, but you know how it is when you're like 15.
Yeah, I mean,
and you're really feral. You know, your mom and dad work all the time, so they're almost never home. So all of the worst shit that people tell you not to do, that's exactly what you do. And we all had gigantic boom boxes, and we would go out into what we called the bush, which was really just a big cow field with a shit ton of palmettos that you could like go through and find an opening and then party in. And like no one would ever find you in those palmetto bushes, you know what I mean? And I shit you guys not, we'd be out there fucking jamming Shout at the Devil by Motley Crue and all that shit, trying to hook up with chicks. Like all of the stuff that you're told don't do this was exactly the shit we were doing, you know. Don't drink, don't smoke, don't have premarital sex with little slutty women. And of course we were like, yay, trying. Now it never worked out for me because I was such a fucking nerd, but it worked out for my brother and my best friend and some other guys because, you know, because they're assholes and they show up to the party out in the bush with a guitar. You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah. Talking about nerds though.
Yeah.
Our wizard's got something really cool.
Okay. So
we got some
thank
tapestries.
you for dragging me back to the game. What did your wizard get? That's really cool.
A couple of tapestries. I think it's like a couple of tapestries with like spells on them.
Tapestries with the spells written on them?
Yeah, it's like I guess a wizard decided to make their spell book into tapestries.
Weird, but could be useful if the wizard who has them wants to learn one of the spells that's on them.
Yep. Yeah, what the DM says is that it's basically like a spell book. If you take a week, you get the spell.
That's how I run it, except I run it slightly different in that for me, it's level spell times a week times 100 gold.
Yeah, I'm not sure if that's how it works here, but
like I said, Bubba cannot be wrong if he's running his campaign.
I get it. And
but the reason I do it that way is because I want when the mage starts learning those third and fourth level spells, I want it to be a big deal.
A big deal, yeah.
I want him to be like, holy shit, you know.
I guess what one of the spells on this tapestry was.
Plus, wizards typically don't really ever have much to spend money on anyway.
Yeah.
So by doing this, it helps, you know, drain a little bit of money from the wizard or the group that other classes would be spending either making tithes to their temple or buying new equipment or whatever the hell they're doing, right?
Also, guess what one of the spells on that tapestry was?
I can't guess because in D&D there's 1,000 spells.
Okay, fair. It was animate statue.
You guys in your animate statue, boy, you love that. don't you?
I mean, I picked it. They found it. I don't know what's with that one. That one's just a weird thing that happened.
I'm just saying, you guys seem to be animating statues, fighting statues,
Well, anime statues are really good
making
stuff.
sweet love to statues. It's like,
That's weird.
hey man, don't kink shame me. You know what the proper response is?
I'm guessing the stone's asking for it.
No. Kink shaming is my kink, so you don't kink shame me.
Okay,
See
fair
what I
enough.
mean? You turn it
Yeah.
around and you're like, now what are you gonna do?
Oh boy, but animate statue is a good spell though. I mean, you get a statue that does 2d8 damage
Well, I mean, it could be a really good spell
and
if
2 attacks.
you create a couple of them and have them like garden your freaking hangout or whatever.
Well, the thing is, it lasts for a certain amount of time, so it's not like it's a permanent thing, sadly. Or I
Yeah,
would do
but
that.
what amount of time are we talking about? If it's like hours, then
No,
you
it's
have some statues made by the local, artist, and you set them in front of your castle or somewhere in it, and then before you leave, you animate them.
I wish it was that long, but it's 1d10 rounds per level.
1 to 10 rounds per level. And what level of spell is that?
3 for me, 4 for magic user.
So it's 4 for him.
Yeah.
So 4 die 10 plus level, you said?
Yeah. It's 1d10 per round. 1d10.
Oh, so you don't add level.
No. It's then
So
it's
4d10, let's say we're rolling average. That's 20 rounds. So that's what? A couple of minutes? Yeah, that's not great.
couple of minutes for having a thing that does 2d8 attacks, 2d8 damage per attack.
Yeah,
having
but what are
2
you going
attacks.
to do? Hold on, though. Are you going to be dragging a cart behind you through a dungeon with a statue in it?
No, usually our dungeons have a lot of statues. There's no issue about that.
Well, okay. Because, I mean, if it were like turns, then that would be awesome.
Yeah, that would be awesome.
But,
I mean, first statue I'd seen, I'd just be like, "You're coming with us."
But now, I mean, I'm sure some DMs out there would be calling me a little bit of a Monty Hall DM right now, even though it's not my fault since I didn't put the treasure in the dungeon. It was already in the dungeon, but the party voted to give this bear hide they found to the berserker, and it's called the Cape of the Vindo, which Vindo are Norse bearmen.
Yeah.
But like once per day, if she says the words, it turns her into a cave bear for like 10 minutes.
Okay, that's a cool
Now
thing.
they're all a bunch of level 3s and 4s, right? But a cave bear, when it attacks, its claws do die 10, its bite does 2 die 6, and that's not counting its strength, which is +4 to each attack. And if it hits with both claws, it can choose to give you a bear hug, which means it will hold you in its arms for a number of rounds, and each round you automatically take 2 die 8 damage +4. So,
And what happens if you get to 0 hit points with the bear form?
well, here's the thing. The bear form has way more hit points than she does.
Exactly.
So if you get to, if the bear form gets injured enough that when you turn back to a human, you're at -10, you instantly die.
Okay, so there is a backside, or downside, but I mean, not much of one if it's already got more health than you.
Well, I mean, a huge one in that it's a one-time use per day.
That's fair.
And the bear is not wearing armor. So,
True.
so when she goes into bear form, she becomes easier to hit.
Easier to hit, more health though, but
More health, but then if she turns back, she has to hopefully have enough health to live through
yeah.
turning
So
into a bear.
it's a bit of risk reward. It's a really good thing, but it's not overpowering.
Yeah, that's what I thought until the last fight they had with like the crazed chief of Herat. She turned into a bear and then like instantly, without even thinking about it, just red misted one of his favored warriors. He called them kind of like Thanes or Huskarls, you know.
Okay, maybe I'm wrong. Maybe it is broken.
I mean, I thought they'd be pretty tough with 20 something hit points
Yeah,
because,
20
again, you know, they're NPC fighters. And she hit this dude for like 48 hit points. And I was just like, now, to be fair, one of her claw attacks was a crit. And when
Yeah.
she rolled to see what the crit was, it was ×3 damage.
Oh God.
So she rolled 4 die 10 plus 2 die 6 plus 8. No, 12.
But that's another thing where you look at the animate statue, 2d8 for 2 attacks, and also you could haste it.
Oh, yeah, that's definitely something that could immediately just wreck a fool, you know. It's like this thing runs up and it hits you for
Because
basically 4 die 8, you know. That's
because
16 damage on average.
that's most statues, like animate statues that you go up against in game, are immune to magic because they're golems.
Right.
But animate statue is not a golem. It does not have that immunity, so you can actually put haste on it and then have like a thing that does 2d8 4 times in a row.
Preaching to the choir, brother. I mean, if one of those things runs up on one of your mages, that's just game over.
Yeah.
Because the mage's armor class is so low, that thing's like, yeah, I'm just going to hit you and do probably way more damage than you have hit points. I mean,
Yep.
the level 4 mage in the party's only got like 13 hit points.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Not much.
Whereas the fighter is doing pretty good, but the two characters with the most hit points are the berserker and the cleric.
Dang.
But that's only because Haas has been rolling really lucky when he levels.
Yeah, that's fair.
So
But
he's rolling like 7s and 8s, and he's got a high con, so he gets to add like +2 to his health every time he levels. And then the berserker rolls die 12s and adds her con, which is also pretty good. And so yeah. At level 3, she has like almost 40 hit points or some shit.
yeah, I mean, right now, what my character has like 26 hit points max.
What level are you?
Level 5.
Well, for a cleric, that's not horrible.
No, it did start off pretty poor, but I've been rolling halfway decent now.
I mean, it's not great, but it's not horrible.
It was rolling pretty low for my first start, but it's finally in a position where I'm not gonna just get instantly killed.
Yeah, the berserker is still low level because she takes so much hit or XP to level up. But Haas's cleric, you know, clerics level quick, and so do thieves. So the assassin, the scout, which are thief classes, and the freaking cleric, they're just running crazy with it. But like the scout at level 4 has like 20 hit points. And he has a good con, you know what I mean?
Yep.
And the assassin has nowhere near that. But in Hyperborea, how assassins work is if she sneak attacks somebody, you compare levels, and then she rolls a die 12, and depending on what comes up on the die 12, they either take backstab damage as they normally would, or they just instantly die. So, there is that.
One other good thing about being level 5 cleric, though, my attack went up. I now can hit. I get a +5 to my attack with my +3 Crom's hammer.
Nice. That is very cool.
Yep. And if I don't want to take use the +3 on my hammer, but my AC, -4 AC, or a -6 if I use this one item that the DM gave me that gives me like a
That is one
3
hell
turns.
of an AC.
Not 3 turns. It was like I think like 3 rounds of just AC.
The guy with
Including the
the
use of it.
best AC in our group is our cleric as well. They gave him a set of splint armor that was enchanted. So if he uses a shield, his armor class is like 2
Nice.
or 1, and then without a shield 2.
I got
Either way, it's very high.
I got a +2 plate, a +1 shield, and then my defender that gives me +3 if I really want it.
Yeah, this guy, if you're like an attack bonus 1 creature, you basically need a 19 or 20 to hit this guy.
You literally need like a 20 to hit me unless you get like a really good bonus.
Right. And any creature that would need a 20 to hit him, it means that they can't actually crit him.
Which is nice because
that's how I play that. If you need a 20 just to hit a guy, then you like a nat 20 just to hit a guy, then you cannot crit him. And his splint mail armor, just because this is a thing that Hyperborea does, deducts all damage he takes by 1. It's got damage resistance of 1.
No, mine doesn't have damage
because
resistance.
high end, medium, and heavy armor gives the wearer a damage resistance. So,
Yeah, ours don't. So I still take full damage if you hit.
It's like I said. It's like it's like you're basically playing a version of BX D&D.
Yeah.
And I'm basically playing a what if TSR had made the 3rd edition. So while a lot of the things in the game I'm playing are very, very much familiar to anyone who has ever played D&D, there are some differences, And
I can understand certain things like that. I wish it was like that because hey, that just makes me even harder to die.
Yeah, they so like in this game you have a saving throw number, and it's only 1 number, and it can go down as you go up in level, but then you've got all of the saves like poison, whatever, right? And depending on your class, you get bonuses to certain saves. So like the Berserker gets +2 bonus to all saves.
Oh, that reminds me. Last session made me a little bit afraid because I did fall into a pit trap with a spike on it that had poison on it.
Uh-oh.
Yeah, save versus death or die. I saved, luckily.
Yeah, that's, the same way my game is. Save versus death a lot of times is exactly that. But anyway, so let's say your armor class is 16, because every character at level 1 starts with a 16 armor class, right?
Yeah.
But if you're a fighter, you get like +2 to death saves and +2 to like transmogrify whatever saves. Transmogrify. So so in effect, you only need a 14 if it's a death save, but you need a 16 if it's anything else. And then as you level, your primary save drops, but your bonuses I don't think they go up.
Yeah.
So instead of having a 16 base save, you might have a 14 base save, and which would be a 12 versus the things that you're actually really resistant to.
I got a 14 against spells, a 15 against breath attacks, 12 against paralysis or petrification, 13 against magic wands, and a 9 against death or poison. That's not good. I could have easily died last session.
And then another thing I like is that you don't have THACO. Even though the game uses lower AC is better and it has the chart at the bottom that shows what you need to hit armor class, fighters and like partial melee, like clerics and whatever, start the game with a attack bonus, fighting bonus as it's called, or fighting ability of 1. So when you roll against the THACO chart, let's call it, right? You roll your die 20 and then you add all your bonuses. And if it's more than the number, you hit, right? And fighters, every time they level up, their fighting ability goes up. So it's not like games where when you level up, you have to erase the grid and put down the new numbers, because the AC grid never changes. What changes is your bonus to hit. So in effect, it does exactly the same thing your game does, but it does it slightly differently.
Yeah.
So that's also pretty cool. I like that. And then casters can actually, as they level up, get caster bonuses or spell casting bonuses, which can help them out in the game as well. And then last thing I'll say, and then you can talk for a bit about your game. Damn, I had it on the tip of my tongue. Never mind. Talk about your game, and maybe I'll remember.
Okay. Well, one other thing is, I'm getting really close to actually be. Oh, hey, nice.
Do you get what I based it on?
I mean, it looks like an eagle with like deer head or something.
Well, it's a one of my favorite monsters of all time, a Paradon, but I'm painting it up to be a bald eagle Paradon.
Ah, okay.
Now I'm going to have to, of course, shade the white and do the horns, but I just think that'll be an interesting kind of.
Yeah, that'd be cool.
So anyway, you were saying?
I'm about to get to the point where I can actually outright kill low-level undead with my turn undead ability.
That is one thing the game I'm playing has no tolerance for. Your ability to turn undead gets better as you level, but you can only turn undead like a very limited time. Like at first level, you can turn undead once per day. So it's not like games where you just basically every time you meet a room full of undead, you're like, turn. No.
Total number turn. Okay, wait, no, that's.
Nope. Nothing like that. I mean, you might want to turn them, but unfortunately, you can't. And that has to do with the fact that a lot of the gods of the realm don't give a fuck about whatever you want. Right?
Okay.
Like,
oh.
You know, if you worship Krimmer, even if you were a cleric, you would never pray. You know, because Krimmer doesn't want prayer. He wants you to use the strength of your body to achieve whatever you're trying to achieve.
Yeah.
You know?
For clerics in our game, it's 3 times a day, but it gets harder each time you use it.
Right. So, yeah, and there's a lot of deities that are like that. And then there's some deities that you don't actually worship them because they're good and they're going to help you out with shit. You worship them because you're trying to convince them not to like cause horrible shit to happen to you. So, but in this game, Krimmer is Crom. And he's mostly worshipped by the Central European people, the Cimmerians, who did exist. And yeah, they don't do a lot of prayer or anything to him because.
Who needs prayer? It's about strength.
And that's the thing
And
that
battle.
the priests of Krimmer would tell you. Why are you praying to your God to help you when your God already gave you every single tool you need to achieve whatever you want? You know, so they consider people who rely on prayer to be kind of weak. You know, they're like, you know, which does not mean they're atheists. They believe in the gods 100%, all of them, but they just don't feel like prayer will actually help you. That the only thing that's going to help you is a strong arm and a sharp sword. And that's pretty much how the Cimmerians live there. That's their culture. You know what I mean? You're born and you already have everything you need. And pretty cool, you know, which is they basically copy that from the Conan stuff. And then you've got Yandela, the horned god, Is of fertility, but also human sacrifice and all that. And that's just a fancy name for Shub Niggurath from H.P. Lovecraft. Also a very, very popular god amongst the Celts. So, you know. So there you go. See? You learn something new every day, don't you?
Yep. I'm trying to think of what the best 4th level spell for me is. Probably protection from evil.
Well, Pro Evil is definitely a great spell, especially like if at the first round of combat you win initiative and you immediately drop that Pro Evil on a fool, you know.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden, you know, the whole party has like a massive advantage in that combat. That's cool. You know, that's cool. That'll make the other players love you a lot. But you know, also it depends if you're trying to play, you know, a more support aligned cleric.
Yeah, that's the thing. I'm kind of like a frontline tanky kind of cleric, and so it's like 4th level spells don't really seem to be the best line for it because it's got some interesting spells, but nothing that could help with fighting. It seems.
He'll critical wound. I mean, the heal spells are always a good option.
Always a good,
no matter what.
That could be one that I have to pick up. That would be one. I mean,
and depending on how Dragon Slayer runs, if possible, maybe restoration or lesser restoration, whichever.
It doesn't have that. It has detect light, divination, exercise, flesh of fire, lower water, which I already have on a scroll, neutralize poison, speak with plants, sticks to snakes, and tongues.
Well, I mean, sticks to snakes is useful. Tongues is useful. The rest of them just seem like decent spells, but I'm not sure if they're how optimal they are.
Yeah.
I mean, sticks to snakes could be pretty good if you chucked a handful of sticks into a group of enemy and they all turn into vipers. Yeah, that's
it's true.
That's not a joke. I mean, you know,
Dragon
you know,
cultists go against the
if
dragon
they're in a
cultists
formation, they're definitely not going to be in a formation.
anymore.
Yeah, because they're going to be scattering to get away from those damn snakes.
Throw a bunch of sticks at the dragon cultists, just go and then change them all into snakes.
I mean, so there is that.
Yeah.
But tongues is very useful because while it's active, you literally just speak every language.
Yeah, that is true. I might do that actually. That might
I
be
mean,
my
so
thing.
there's some useful stuff there, is what
Yeah.
I'm saying.
Now, level 5. Once I get level 5 spells, I'm going to be very happy because Flame Strike.
Yep. Calling
Flame
down a column of fire on a bunch of fools.
I've already
All
got to
like
use it once. It is just hilariously awesome.
Well, I mean, whether Gygax meant to do it or not, he copied it from the Old Testament. The great Saint Elijah called down a column of fire to consume evil men who had wished him harm.
I called it down against a bunch of trolls, and it worked well.
Of course it would. Trolls. Unless you're like this DM I once played a game with who gave this troll a suit of leather armor, character classes, and a ring of protection from fire. I spent like an hour of game time just beating that troll to death.
It's kind of like a take move.
Because there was no way it was going to stop me, especially not with my wife playing the cleric behind me and me playing the big burly freaking human fighter. And I would knock it out, and then we'd try and burn it, and it wouldn't burn. And then we'd try to figure shit out, and eventually we sent a couple of guys from the group to town to buy acid. And the cleric and I just stood over the troll, and every time it looked like it was going to heal, I just beat the shit out of it to keep it, unconscious. So basically, you just made the game harder, but not really.
Yeah, just more annoying.
Pretty much he made it very annoying, a very annoying game because, we had to sit there for like 5 times the amount of time it should have took to beat a freaking troll. And at that point, I think I was a 6th level human fighter. And all of my feats were like increased crit, advanced increased crit, all that kind of shit. So,
You're just like, I'm going to crit things and I'm going to make sure it dies.
Well, longsword normally crits on a 19 or 20. So every one of those feats increase that range. I think I critted on a 16 or 17. So, which is honestly just ridiculous. You run up on somebody and you're like, yep, crit, boom. Especially if your character's got like a sword of sharpness or a vorpal sword that says every time you crit, there's a possibility to cut some shit off. Yeah, that's a rough one right there. But that particular guy was a bit of a munchkin anyway, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, yeah, when he ran the game, he was just a munchkin. That I was sitting there trying to think of something good to say, and unfortunately, I mean, the best thing I can say about him is he was imaginative, and sometimes he was willing to play the game. But otherwise, total freaking munchkin. And also weird, too. He was running one game I was in, and we were in a desert, and we got to a town, and there was like this giant female half orc guarding the gate to the town. And, we all wanted in. so she like pushed I think he's a thief. I was a fighter because I'm always a fighter. Pushed him to the ground and like made him kiss her feet. At which point my hand was going to the hilt because I'm like, I'm gonna murder this fucking orc right here, right? Except the character that got pushed to his feet and told to kiss her feet enjoyed it and was going off on how much, he loved it and calling her his mistress and shit like that. And I'm like, is this some BDSM shit going on over here?
I'd be questioning my choices if I was in the game like that.
So I never actually went back. You know what I mean?
I don't blame you. I'd be questioning why I'm even here at that point. I'd be like,
yeah. I was like, yeah, I don't think I want any part of this because this is
the game's kind of weird, but not that weird.
I mean, orcs are for killing, not for kissing their feet. Anybody in chat that disagrees, let me know. I see there's a few of you in chat. Come on, man. Say something. Give me a thumbs up. Call me an asshole. Just let me know you're there.
I mean, I can understand like the half-orc, mercenary every once in a while, but this is just a little weird.
Yeah, apparently she was supposed to be very attractive and big and strong. Basically a muscle mama, And
whatever floats your boat, I guess. It's not for me. I'm no thanks.
And this dude's character was like super into that, which just made my fighter want to throw up all over the place. Because I'm sitting here being like, that is an orc. The best orc is a dead orc. And this dude's like worshiping this orc's feet. And she's all like BDSMing him. And I'm just like, yeah, I'm not coming back to this game ever again. Count on that shit. And guess what? I didn't. I was a man of my word. I did never go back. I was like, no. Nope. I'm not interested in any game where some dude has an obsession with like a woman's sandaled feet. I mean, that's awkward.
That is.
So, see, you're lucky. You've never had to go through that.
I mean, our games could get weird sometimes, but not that weird.
Well, I can say that there wasn't anything crude or whatever about it.
I mean, yeah, fair. It's just like.
But it was just the whole idea of it was like, yeah, I don't want to be any part of it, It
gives me Baldur's Gate 3 vibes to this one.
Oh yeah, let's have gay sex with a bear. Well, this game, to be fair, took place a very long time ago. I guess maybe 10 years ago. So they weren't copying Baldur's Gate.
I know.
They were playing 3rd edition D&D because they had decided that they were just going to play 3rd edition D&D until they died.
Yeah, but I don't know if I like 3rd edition though. No. It's a weird thing.
3rd edition was very exciting when it first came out because there were so many things that you think are going to be awesome until you actually play it for a while and you realize that a lot of things that you thought were going to make the game even more awesome are the reason the game sucks. Like skills and everybody being able to get skills. So the fighter being able to be a thief. At first, that sounds awesome, but over time, it just changes the feel. The fact that you basically got to have a computer set up to run combat. And I've played, you know this. I've played and ran some of the games people always complain about being crunchy. I mean, I am an old hand at RuneQuest, Rollmaster, Miller Role Playing, and at no point in any of those games did we ever hit a certain level and me say, okay, it's time to start this campaign over.
Yeah. With RuneQuest, I mean, combat's very simple.
Well, yeah. And with Rollmaster, the real key is whatever weapons the player has, give them the attack charts for those weapons.
Yeah.
I mean, it's not that hard. It really isn't. Just give them the attack charts and let them handle their business. No problem. Everything's freaking hunky dory, right? And the thing with like Pathfinder is it's like once the players hit a certain level, it's just like, yeah, I ain't got the patience to run this shit anymore. It's like every combat takes 45 minutes. You know,
I heard that was worse with fourth edition too. I mean, fourth edition, I don't even like the classes felt the same because they all use the same technical skills. Just
fourth
reflavored.
edition could have been good if it had been marketed as something else,
Maybe.
like
But
a
I don't.
skirmish game or something.
Yeah,
If
I
it had been
don't.
marketed as a skirmish game, then it definitely could have been really cool.
I
But
don't think I would have liked it still. I don't know. It was weird.
well, what you're saying is true though. So that's what I was trying to get out.
Yeah.
I ran fourth edition for a very long time, and I even ran fourth edition Essentials for a while, which is a much better version of the game.
Yeah, I've heard that the Essentials was just a much better version of the game.
It was. I still own my Essentials stuff. I long since sold off my 4E stuff and my 5E stuff. I have nothing here that's 5E, but I kept the 4E Essentials. And the main thing with it was just that in fourth edition, because they used at will powers and encounter powers and daily powers and all this, it made every class basically a magic user.
Yeah, that's true.
Like
too.
if you're playing a fighter and your turn comes up, you cast your whatever your freaking attack is. And that's just how it was, right? So in addition to taking 2 hours for your average group of adventurers to defeat a kobold, all the characters felt exactly alike. Like,
Yeah, there was like 4 different technical archetypes, even though there was like a ton of classes.
oh, and they used the archetypes too in the game, which I was offended by. Even the fighter types were called tanks, and the wizard types were called controllers.
See, I heard it different than it was takes. It was like leaders, controllers.
No, leaders were like the
something like that.
warlock,
Ah,
because there was a class that its whole thing was to be the leader of the party, and it had abilities where it could you could like give other characters an extra attack or an extra move, or basically because it was supposed to be because your tactics is so badass. And I actually like those classes a lot. I'm not going to lie. The warlock was a cool class that could have easily been ported over to another game and never has been. And that's a shame because, having a kind of actually the warlock was more like a cleric than he was like a fighter. But they didn't have spells, but they did have tactician type abilities, So like I said, imagine if in Dragon Slayer somebody was playing a not warlock, warlord, and their powers were that they could give up one of their actions to give someone else in the group that can see him and hear him an extra action. And or that he could use an action to actually move one of the other players out of, danger or something.
That would be very useful.
And that was kind of the warlord's whole thing. He was a general. He was a warlord. He was the guy that stood in the back and told everybody where to go, who to kill, etc. Like one of the abilities he had, which I really liked, is they had the ability to affect initiative, and they had the ability to, if there were two players that were standing side by side, the warlock could give them the ability to switch positions. So basically, everything the warlock did was about controlling the battlefield. You know what I mean? By giving the other players chances to do two things, or moving them, or affecting the enemy in some way, or whatever, And yeah, that added kind of a neat tactic to battles when you've got the warlock, moving the thief and the fighter's position so that now the thief is not in range to be attacked, but the fighter is. And it's like, now he couldn't just do it with I mean, the person he is trying to affect had to be cool with whatever he's doing. So he couldn't just move other people's characters all over the
Against
place
their will. Because
against their will.
I could see that being kind of annoying if you had somebody just like BMing it, like, just
Especially if the
trolling
person
people.
playing the warlock or the warlord was just a straight up asshole.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. He just like starts moving people into bad positions, or just trolling with the abilities.
Right. No, the person that the power was being used on could choose whether they wanted to or not, but it was basically, and by basically I mean literally, it was supposed to represent kind of the idea of having a tactician in the group that's kind of standing back, because a lot of times they didn't want to be like on the front line, and directing the other guys in the group like where the best place would be for them, So we had a warlord in our group, and man, she was really good. Like, because she could do stuff like the fighter could double move to get within range to attack, say, an enemy wizard. And then on her turn, she could give the fighter another action, which means now he's swinging his freaking, great axe or whatever at the enemy wizard, even though technically he never should have been able to. But, now he can. Or, the fighter's fighting, say, a dragon or something. The warlord just keeps giving the fighter or the mage or whatever extra actions and, all that kind of thing, Like I said, I kind of wonder why that class was never. I guess maybe in 50 they've got a version of it. I don't know.
Not really. They don't have any
Because I
class
haven't
that
looked,
does that.
so
There's no moving your teammates or anything, it seems.
yep. And the warlord could use basically any weapon, wear any armor, could fight. They could fight. But sometimes that's the last thing you wanted them doing,
Yeah.
Because sometimes you wanted them. I mean, like the thing with 4E is there was a huge amount of attention played to the tactical combat. That was like a big deal, right? So if you had the warlock in your group and you had the other classes in your group, if the players all talk to each other about stuff, you could pull out crazy shit out of nowhere, you know? Like I said, like the fighter being able to get to the mage and attack him right off the bat, or the thief getting a double sneak attack on somebody because, you know, or whatever, you know what I mean? Anyway, been about 2 hours. I think it's time for me to
Yeah, I guess I should go
mosey
too.
on, homie.
I'll see you.
I'll see you. Thanks for joining me, Timmy. Always a pleasure,
problem.
sir.